All right, we're talking MAGA right now, but we're talking about make Alibaba great again. That certainly is the mantra. And what we're seeing and what we're hearing, according to our reporting from Bloomberg, that Jack Ma is back on Alibaba's campuses and is more directly involved in the company than he has been in half a decade. Now, Ma, of course, as you may know, was once China's wealthiest and most prominent tech leader, and his comeback has been long awaited. And that, of course, that handshake, people remember, with President Xi back in February, was seen as his official return to grace. It was also a signal that the country's tech sector, private sector, may be back in favor in Beijing as well. But, you know, he always has been, Dave, the face, the personality behind this company. And really, the company without him for the last few years has struggled in some ways, you could say. And we certainly have seen that reflective in the stock price.
I mean, certainly. And, you know, there have been not just, of course, on the Jack Ma side of things. You know, there's been this whole regulatory regime shift and shift back that's really led to that. And I think using Alibaba just as a juxtaposition of, you know, the changing stories is a really useful exercise to just figure out right now what it actually means, not just for the company, but for the sector moving forward. In fact, when you look at this chart, we put it actually on a chart. We're not taking the chart all the way back to 2014, of course, when it listed first in the U.S., and I remember that day like it was yesterday. Very big deal, of course, in that listing right now. But I also remember almost like it was yesterday, you know, the conversations around how massive that deal was going into what eventually was a pulling of that listing, the whole common prosperity conversation, that return, of course, in pictures of Jack Ma, and, of course, eventually what then led to Chinese president meeting Jack Ma, and of course that big meeting that took place following the DeepSeek moment early this year, which did include, of course, Jack Ma there in Beijing. And it also brings to mind, and here's a useful statistic in case some of our viewers missed that, right? Alibaba was back then the biggest stock on the Hang Seng, is right now, again, the biggest stock, heaviest weighted stock to be more specific, on the Hang Seng Index. I just had to look at my terminal right now. At the peak, I think it was October 17, 2017, or October 27, 2017. At one point, Alibaba was valued at $860-ish billion US dollars. It was sixth in the world as far as market cap. Right now, it's about 360, and it's ranked about 30. So it's come back, but certainly there's a long way back to the very top.
Yes.
But, you know, who would have thought we'd be here talking about this very story at this point in time? Yeah,
we're still, I think, not quite even halfway there from the peak, right, of those glory days. But certainly, it's a fantastic piece that brought to you by, of course, our tech team. I want to bring in Luz Ding now. She joins us now with more. So tell us a bit more. I mean, it's a great story. Why do you think Jack Ma is back, and at what capacity?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So what we have been hearing from employees at Alibaba and some other sources that Jack has been more involved in the company, the most involved since 2020. And he's been showing up on campuses. He's also getting behind a lot of big decisions in Alibaba, like recently the big investment of 50 billion yuan of subsidies into food delivery. And of course, he cares a lot about AI. He gets daily updates. And in one case, Reuters told us that he was messaging a senior manager 3 times a day, and that's a lot of watching. And then, of course, he does not have an official title in the company, from what we heard. But yeah, he's around.
Well, how much of the stock price rally can be credited to Jack Ma being back?
Yeah, I think so. A lot when we talk to people, a lot of the one word that came a lot is the morale. And he's still the moral leader. He comes back, and that means that some of the worst days that you two described earlier has passed. And then the company is steady shipped, and then a lot of confidence being brought to the company, and that means a lot. And of course, when we talk about like Alibaba's growth right now, a major driver is AI. And then that's when Alibaba. Years ago, Jack Ma supported the venture, and then when the cloud business was in a lot of doubt, Jack supported it, and then and look at now, it's the most promising growth engine of the company, rather than a lot of its Alibaba's competitors, JD and Meituan, deep into the food delivery war.
Yeah, I think one of the people he talked to said, when there was a news that he was going to be making a speech on campus, they were getting very emotional, right? Just the idea of it. So what do we do at this point? I mean, is he going to make an official comeback at some point?
We don't know that, and then he's been keeping relatively much lower profile. He was one of the most like visible leader, business leader from China. He goes to Davos and all that, and we have not seen that yet. And he's been showing up more on campus, and then he's giving speeches, but it's mostly internally. Besides that, he's been biking by the West Lake in Hangzhou.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's mostly internal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still keeping low profile for now.
Didn't he didn't he dress up as Michael Jackson once?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Those annual shows.
Alibaba Day, right? Jack Michael Jackson.
And there was some African talent show, or some show that he was also on recently as well.
Lots to look forward to.
Great reporting, and thank you for bringing that story to us here. Luz Ding there joining us from our tech team.